hey guys, I'm Whitney Ullman here with the multi-Grammy nominated Ryan Shaw. Talk to us about performing and adapting to where we are right now, and then we'll get into your album.
Well, that's been the most difficult thing, is figuring out sound over a platform that's not really made for live sound. Like, you know, the companies are now trying to jump on to get like Zoom up to par to do like concert things, but it's normally all been conference calls and meetings, and now people are on with like a 8-piece band, and Zoom is like, whoa, wait, we don't know what's happening. So that's been kind of difficult. And there, you know, the new technologies are coming on. There's a lot of software now that you can put into your computer and sort of perform through your DAW, which is like your recording software, which could like be Pro Tools or Logic, or, you know, and so, you know, I've downloaded a few of those to try to make this transition smoother. Okay. But it's still a little crazy.
It is crazy. I know, I was just talking, and you have some Broadway roots, right, yourself?
Yes.
Because I just did an interview with some Broadway people. You probably know them. But I was talking about how when the pandemic first started, I mean, a lot of people knew it was serious when, you know, like football games and sports games said they're not going to do any more live games. Some people knew when schools were closing down. I knew when they were shutting Broadway down that something was bad when they shut Broadway down. So I can't imagine for you as a performer, you know, what that felt like. Do you remember where you were when you heard that everything was going to be shut down?
Actually, yeah, I had started doing a bunch of symphonic concerts. And so me and Broadway royalty Capathia Jenkins were doing this Aretha Franklin tribute show. And I think I'm not sure what town we were in, but we were in a city, and we got a call, and they were like, oh, the next 2 cities call, and they canceled the shows. And we were like, huh?
Yeah, wow.
Really? And they was like, yeah. And so we were like, oh, okay. And it was like, you know, because of this new thing that's happening, this coronavirus thing. And it was like, okay. And so we went home for the next 2 weeks. And then every other week, a new city was canceling. And we was like, what is happening? So, oh, we'll be back. Oh, they just want to reschedule for the fall.
Yeah.
And now they're like, and now people sending letters like, oh, the November concert in 2021 is now 2021. Yeah, what is happening? So that's what I was doing. I wasn't working on any Broadway stuff at the time when it happened, but you know, the concert work, it's the same thing. You need a venue, you need people in a venue.
So talk to us about Imagining Marvin. What is the inspiration behind that?
I mean, really, it started as a conversation with me and my manager, Elizabeth Healy, and we were trying to figure out, you know, I had stepped away from the recording world for a while. I had done Motown, and I had done, you know, G-Press Superstar, and I had spent some time in London on the West End doing Thriller Live, and I was like, well, it's time to do another record, because, you know, the industry had changed so much, and I was like, I don't even know if I have the energy or the wherewithal to even figure out what this is now, especially, you know, with not having like a big label support and all that stuff. So we said, let's just work on a project. I had a concept, and I was like, I really need to get back into the industry. And we were just looking at like current events, and she was just looking up. So she's like, you know what I heard the other day, you know, this year is Marvin Gaye's 80th birthday. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to do another like covers album, because my first record they were very obscure songs, but they were covers. It was 11 songs, 12 songs, 9 covers, 3 originals. And then the second album, Real Love, was the reverse. So it was 9 originals, 3 covers. And I didn't want to go back to just doing like a bunch of covers. So I'm like, I'm not a covers artist. I have something, my own voice and what I want to say. And so she was like, but it is Marvin's 80th birthday this year. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool, because my mind started going back. Like, Marvin had been like iconic moments in my career, like since I moved to New York. The first song that I sang at the open mics down in the Village was What's Going On. Well, the first song that I sang that made people stop and go like, oh, who is this person? Was What's Going On. So I sang that song literally for like 2 years. And then you fast forward to understudying. I played Stevie Wonder in Motown, but I understudied Marvin. And so I went on for Marvin quite a bit during that 2-year period. And my 3rd Grammy nomination was for the Beatles. I covered the Beatles Yesterday, but my version is heavily based on Marvin Gaye's version of Yesterday. Wow. And so I was like, oh, but it's different if I could do a Marvin tribute album, but then I was like, but then I want to do a bunch of covers. I have to be me. if I'm going to do it. And so a couple of years ago, I wanted to see if I could put Marvin Gaye's work on me and still feel like myself. And so that's where the imagining came, because we started talking after that, like, I wonder what Marvin would be doing if he was still alive today. And that's what it was birthed of. And I was like, oh, then the light came on. So that would give me liberty to be myself, because we'll never know the answer to that.
Yeah.
So it gave me permission to take what Marvin has given us, to absorb it into myself, and to recreate it as if I'm imagining what Marvin is doing, but it's me, but honoring Marvin in the spirit. And so none of the songs on the record that are Marvin are exactly like, none of it is like a remake at all. It's just me interpreting, because I feel like Marvin would be one of those artists, even like Janet, like now she has some songs that when she performs live, she's taking some old songs and like remix them and does them different. Yeah. And she never does them the original way anymore. It's only like this new remix that she does when she goes on tour. And I feel Marvin would have been one of those people. Like he would have just, because he's always evolving. And so he would have just, I Want You would have been different. He'd have put a different groove behind it. He would have sang it different. He would have added a piece. So it gave me the freedom to do that.
I feel like that's such great talent. I mean, I think about Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You, and that's how I hear it. And then you hear Dolly Parton's version.
Right.
Because she was the originator, but then you're like, but I just know the Whitney Houston version, and that's what I know. And that's what pretty much all of us know. Why are you laughing?
Oh I have a crazy, horrible story that I probably shouldn't even tell, but it's amazing. Okay. A story about that, like when you just said I only know the original. So I was doing this. Glen Close has a non-for-profit called Bring Change to Mind, and I was doing her inaugural fundraiser on an alternative events. When I used to be a wedding singer, I actually played her wedding, and after that we became friends. So we've been friends for quite a while. And when she started her non-for-profit, she asked me to sing, and I was like, oh, cool, it's awesome. So I go into the rehearsal, and you got Valerie Simpson, and you got Jeff Goldblum, you got all these like iconic people, and then you have me, upstart, trying to get it together. I've had some success, but I'm not an A-lister, if we're gonna be real about it. But but not an unknown. So, but I'm there, and and so there was this. I'm gonna get in trouble. So there was this guy, Paul Simon was the MD, and so everyone was doing their thing, and there was this one guy at the rehearsal that kept like taking over. Well, not taking over. He kept making suggestions and doing all these things, and then they were like, and so at the end they were like, we're gonna do an encore. And so, do you know Bridge Over Troubled Water? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I know Aretha's version. That's the definitive version for me, because the first time I heard it was Aretha. That's the definitive version for me. And then it kept going, and this guy was just still adding his input. I was like, what is happening? Can you just let us do our thing? And then, so the next day, the guy comes up and he's like, oh, I like what you did over Bridge Over Troubled Water. It was pretty cool. And I was like, oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. And then we get finished, and then they said, guys, we have to stop this because because we have to get the Paul Simon sound check. And I'm like,
oh no! So you said that, and you're like,
I told, and I'm sure Paul Simon was like, either he has no idea who I am, which I did. He has no idea who I am, or this guy's an asshole. Because I was like, dude, yeah. He was like, do you know Bridge Over Troubled Water? I was like, yeah, Aretha's version. Yeah. And I'm saying it to him. I'm like, yeah, Aretha's version. That's the iconic version for me. Because I didn't know who he was, and I was like, he was just, I don't know. But that was you saying that, that's what I knew. I was like, oh my God. So when I told Glenn, she was cracking up. I was like, I don't know why I was thinking everyone else in here is an original.
Right.
You should have assumed that if guys asking you about a song, that it was actually the person who
that was there.
Because I grew up like Pentecostal, so I knew the songs and I knew his name. No one ever said his name at the rehearsal, and I didn't know faces because I grew up we could only listen to gospel, so I didn't know other artists. I would hear stuff in the grocery store, and I would absorb music, so I knew, but everything is distant from me. So like in a lineup, like at the time, I wouldn't have even known like Dolly Parton in the lineup, or the only person I would have known was Michael Jackson, because he was just everyone in the world, including church people, knew him. But you know what I mean. So, but like. Like a Simon and Garfunkel, I wouldn't have known their face. I would have known the music and some songs, but he was there, and I was like,
oh man,
and I was like, lesson learned. When you're in a room with with originals, you need to calm down.
Yeah, don't be so vocal about. Oh, that's funny. That's literally something that would happen to me. So that's why it's really funny.
Yeah.
So talk to us about working with Rob Thomas. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Rob he's really, really cool. And when you meet him, he's a superstar, but he doesn't carry that with him. He's one of the most genuine, sort of just down to earth, sort of awesome, ridiculously funny, silly people that you want to meet.
Is he someone that you always wanted to work with, and then it happened? Like, how did it all come about?
No, it came up. I didn't know at the time that he was actually changing his publishing, signing a new publishing deal with my publishers, which is Round Hill. And so I was in the process of renewing my contract with Round Hill, and so they were starting to set up all these co-writes, and so they put us together. And it was like, you're writing with Rob Thomas. I was like, Rob Thomas? It was like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. And so, but when we got on, because you don't know how you feel, when you're writing with like, a pop rock icon, it's like,
Yeah.
And he got on and he was just like my cousin. And so we like hit it off, and we were just like making jokes and like having the greatest time. And he's a super great collaborator because he doesn't wear his work on his sleeve. And we're alike in the fact that we absorb everything. And I'm more of an absorber and a churner, and he's an absorber and he'll spit it back at you really quick. And so like I'll throw out an idea, he's like, yeah, he'll take it and he'll do it and it'll adapt and it'll evolve, and then he'll say something to me and I'll absorb it, and then I'll go into a churning mode. And we talked about this. We did an IG live the other day, and he was talking about it to me. He was like, because I had to learn you because sometimes you'll take things in, and then we think that you're just completely like zoned out and like not paying us attention, but you're actually processing something that was said like 5 minutes ago, and then you come back and you've taken all the ideas that have happened since then, and now they're all together in one thing. And he was like, I love that. And I was like, and I love the way you do, because if anything I bounce, whether it's stupid or whether I feel it's stupid or not the greatest, it'll spark something in you. And so we collaborate great together. And so we've actually written, we wrote another song that's not on this record that is still a really awesome song. It's just not right for this record. It may end up with another artist, or it may end up on my next record. It's called I Make It Hard. It's a really cool song. And yeah, we have plans for future collaborations and future writings.
Isn't that crazy in life? Like, you're trying to do something, you're here, you're talented, and now all of a sudden you just get linked up. You're like in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really crazy because after I sang it, after I did the demo of the song, and I realized we was going to, because the Imagining Marvin record was done, because we did a live show of it, because I needed to make sure the songs worked on me. And so we did a live concert of it a year before we recorded it. And yeah, just to make sure it worked. And once I knew it worked, then we went into this process. So when I started renewing my publishing deal and doing all these co-writes, it wasn't for the record. The record was done. All the songs had been chosen, and we just needed to record them and finish producing them.
Yeah.
This song was so great that I was like, Rob, he was like, is your record? I was like, the record's done, but I think there's going to be 11 songs now, because there was only going to be 10. And so we added Love and Pain. And then I remember in the writing sessions, because Rob, he was singing and doing his thing. And I was like, why don't you sing it with me? This is both our songs. It's our baby. So why don't you just duet with me? And he was like, really? I'm honored that you asked me. He said, I usually don't do, he always says this. I was like, stop saying it. He's like, I usually don't like to do duets with singers that sing like way better than me. And I was like, oh, get out of here. I was like, you're iconic. Get out of here. No one's doing it. So he be doing that to pull my leg and shit. But no, Rob is great. And so we've been pretty cool friends from doing it. So
that's awesome. And what about Shoshana Bean?
Shoshana, that's my homegirl. Me and Shoshana have known each other for years.
Yeah.
And have always talked about working with each other from like, I think even before. I think I met her a couple of years before I started Motown. So I would say it was probably about 2010, maybe. And I was when she was first starting it might even be before she moved to the Standard, but she had just started her residency. I think it was at the Standard though, in LA. And she was like, her standards at the Standard, or maybe when she was doing Postmodern Jukebox, but it was years ago. And I was hanging out with some friends of mine from LA, and they was like, oh, we're gonna go see this girl, Shoshana. And I was like, okay. And I was just sitting in the room like, what is happening to my life? And why do I want to cry and fight and laugh and do she took me through all the emotions that I could have. And after the show, so they introduced me after the show, and I was like, you are a marvel of light and joy. And then she said she already knew who I was from my first record. She said a friend of hers had already introduced her to my record, and she was a fan, and she was like, Ryan Shaw. And so we instantly was like, I was instantly a fan because I just saw her. She had already known my music. And then we was like, we need to do something together. And we always crossed paths, but never actually worked together until year before last, her first special at the Apollo with her and Cynthia Erivo, her Christmas special. And she called me last minute. It wasn't really a true collaboration. Her background singer lost his voice, and she was like, I know you're in New York, and you can tell me to F off if you want to, because I know you don't do this, and I feel really bad even asking, but my background singer lost his voice, and I know you don't sing background, and I know you have Grammy nominations, but I know you're the only person that I know that can learn music. Your ear is so crazy that you would know what I need. Yeah. And she was like, and I was like, she's like, and you can just hang up if you want to. And I was like, I'm not. I said I'm not touring right now. I'm actually just home, and so I'll do it. And I was like, but wait a minute, when is the concert? She's like, the day after tomorrow. So I had to learn 9 songs in a day, which I did, and I didn't do too bad. But I was able to get them through the show. And so she's like, oh, you're a lifesaver. I owe you. So when this album came out, I was like, Shoshana.
Yeah, I know.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
It's the big payback. Exactly.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. You have like a lot of really great collaborations. I mean, these are like major people, which is good. So what do you hope people get out of the album when they listen to it?
The main thing I hope they see, the main thing, I mean, is really to honor Marvin. But what I hope people get from it is that the important thing for me is like when we take things from other artists or what we learn from other artists. I mean, we're all inspired by someone. No one is just super all self-inspired. We're inspired by something or someone, you know, in anything creative. And so I think the imitation thing just gets sort of weird and old, and it makes people very uncomfortable. And
like
so,
in what regard, you mean? Like when people
like when people just take a record, and actually I think someone's recently done this. I haven't heard it, so I'm not saying this to judge it or anything. But there is another guy who actually just redid a Marvin Gaye, the What's Going On album. Oh. But when I read the article, they literally remade the album, like every nuance of what it was, in sort of like to honor it. And I'm like, but we already have it. If I want to hear what's going on exactly like that, I would just listen to what's going on, because there's one Marvin, and that's that. Yeah. And so what I wanted to do was say, this is how Marvin has inspired me. And if he was still alive, I got to pretend to be Marvin's mind, which gave me the freedom really just to be me and interpret Marvin how I received him when he inspired me. And so that's what I hope people get. And the biggest testament of that was great because I did my first live stream at Ashford and Simpson Sugar Bar. I took over the virtual live stream last Thursday, and it's still up on their Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they go to Sugar Bar NYC on Facebook. The stream is still there, and I pretty much sang the whole album. And the duet that I did with Shoshana, Valerie sang with me because she wrote it as well. So she sang it with me, and it was a great show. We had a great time, and Shoshana came on. She did a song, and all the other singers. It was an open mic, so since I took over as the album tribute, all the other singers on the record, like my friends who came and did background, my brother who helped with all the record, they all sang songs. So it was all about all the talent. My co-producer, Shedrick Mitchell, who just released a Christmas piano record, which is amazing. He came and he played a song from his new record. So it was just all about the album and the people that helped create the album. So it was just a great night of music. And I sang through all the records to track. We were supposed to play Daryl's house, but due to COVID and having a whole band on stage and the numbers jumping, we just decided to be better. It was me at the Sugar Bar with Valerie, social distance, to track. Not ideal, but you know, these are the times. So, but that was a really great show, and so we had done that. But what I really want people to get from is that, what I was saying is the sealing touch was on it, that during the live stream, Valerie surprised me, and she had sent the record to Jan Gaye, Marvin's wife before he passed, or his ex-wife, I think at the time. But Jan Gaye came on, and she was like, I think you're amazing, and like put the seal of approval. And she was like, what I love most about it is that it's you,
yeah,
it's Marvin. And she was like, and that's the thing, it doesn't feel like a copy. Oh wow, you just went into like a field.
I know, like,
that was awesome.
What even happened there?
I was just waiting for the wheat to like grow up. It was just
I know, like that was so odd. I think it's Marvin talking to us.
Exactly, that was magical. Yeah. but she gave like the seal of approval. She was like, I love what you do, and I think it's great. I think, and she was like, and calling it Imagining Marvin, I think is a stroke of genius.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, how did the family feel about that? Because I know from different performers who have covered songs from other performers before, or have done shows like that, a lot of times the families aren't happy, or they want royalties, or they have an issue, like somebody's always not happy. So when you're doing a tribute to Marvin Gaye, I would think, what does the family think?
Yeah, I didn't know. And the main part about it was when we was putting it together, we strategically really stayed away from Marvin's story, because that's when you really have to get involved with the family, and we didn't know how they would take it. And it's their loved one, and they have a right to feel how they feel about everything. So I just wanted to honor what he gave me, and so there was no issue with the family with that. And I didn't know that they would hear it or ever receive it. I didn't know Valerie was like sending her the whole record. And so she was like, I got a surprise for you. Oh, you didn't think you was taking over and gonna know everything that was happening? And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And she was like, we have Jan Gaye on the line. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Like, no.
And she came on, and she was very pleased, and she gave me, her love and support. And she was like, I think you're really, really great, and I'm very proud of what you've done. And I think Marvin would be too. And I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Like, that would make you feel so good, especially because of your passion for it. So that's
absolutely.
And I mean, you've traveled. I know, I was reading your bio. You've toured with Van Halen, with Bonnie Raitt. I mean, you've literally like Joss Stone. Like, what is that like? Let's see, John Legend, B.B. King, Jill Scott, all of them. And look at me, I'm glowing. I better.
Yes, you're glowing again.
There I am. So what was it like being on the road, being on tour with all these people? Do you have any fun behind the scenes stories people always like to know?
Things that I can tell. I'm just trying to figure,
Fun. Like, did somebody have a mishap? Was there like a fun drunk night one night?
Maybe the opposite. The craziest thing, the one people asked me about most was the Van Halen tour. Like, first of all, how did that happen?
Yes, like, how did that happen?
Well, it was their reunion tour, and it was the leg that David Lee Roth came back. Wow. David Lee Roth is a huge soul music fan, and he actually has his own like soul music station. I'm not sure if he still does, but at the time he had his own like soul music slot on a big radio station, and because he just loved soul music. And my booking agent just sent the music in, and when he heard me sing, he said yes. So it's David Lee Roth approved me being on that tour. It wasn't like something he heard it, because it didn't make sense. And I was like, well, it kind of makes sense in the fact that this is before I knew how it happened. I was like, it makes sense for me because Van Halen is like, it's real music. Like, it's people with real instruments playing, real talent, best guitar players in the world, best bass. Like, they're like an amazing band.
Yeah.
Hits all over the place. And I was like, and what I do is real music. So I think that people, I don't sing like bubblegum music. So I think real music lovers would just love real music, even if it's different.
Yeah.
And even like after I finished my set, now I do have an interesting story. Actually, that tour backstage was actually very corporate in a way.
Okay.
It wasn't the Van Halen of days before. It was actually dry backstage because, as people grow, they have issues, and there's, people were in, recovery and all those things. So it was actually dry backstage, which was cool for me because my band didn't drink anyway, so we were already dry. So that was the shocker to most people. Like, it wasn't like crazy women on backstage. No,
I know, that's what I would picture. Like,
it was a lot of love, but very like corporate. It wasn't like super crazy party for that whole tour. It was like a 7-week arena tour with a big ass rock group. And it was pretty. It was. I mean, and I was grateful for it. It was very tame because I don't like being uncomfortable with a bunch of people and all that craziness.
Right.
That was very cool.
I'd be like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, that was great exposure. But the crazy thing was that was the tour that broke my stage fright.
Oh, wow.
Because for me, you had to have guts. So what I realized quickly that Van Halen fans are Van Halen fans. Van Halen fans. So when you're in this arena, there's 20,000 people, 30,000 people. The lights go down. They start going nuts. The lights come back up, and it's not Van Halen. It's the opener. This guy. And immediately, I haven't sang a thing. Just came up, and I wasn't Van Halen. Boo! Oh man! Oh no! Oh! I don't know. And you just get all that. And so people are literally booing as the lights are on you and you have 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay. And so I had already decided that coming out of the gate for my shows, period, that to establish myself, that I'm a singer.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of artists come out and they have the band start with this big dun 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 boom, and all these things happen and the artist is grooving and then the artist walks out and they start clapping and going crazy because the band has set it up. And I took the risk of saying, no, I'm going to start the show me. I'm going to walk out. The band goes out, they play nothing. The bass player gives me a B flat. I walk out. I start singing a cappella. That's how I started the show.
Wow.
I started the show with the change is going to come. And so they're all booing. I let them boo for a while and I just stood there. And then I go, I was born by the river in a little tent, oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Silence.
Oh, wow.
Thunderous applause.
Oh, wow.
They went crazy, and from then on, I had them. But every night, I had to have enough confidence to do that because every night when the lights came up, they would start booing in every city.
Wow.
And I was like, what is wrong with you people?
Wow, I know. It's like with any show, though, even a comedy show. You go there to see the one act, and then you got to see all the other acts.
Yeah.
Hey, but we want to see Conan. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So that's how I was. But after that, I lost stage fright. I don't really get nervous hardly ever. Because I'm like, if you can face that, it's just like.
I know. And I mean, to be a part of that. And actually going back to your first story, how did you get to being like the singer for Glen's wedding? How does that work?
Well, there's a lot of high-end bands in New York City. And that's how I made my living most of my time here in New York until I signed with Columbia, was with wedding bands. And even when I'm not touring heavily, I will go and still sing with my old band. I love it. It's a great industry. It's a lot of great musicians. And it's just friends that you've had over the years. We all struggle together. We all work, trying to be our own individual artists. And the band leaders that have had me in their band, they all love me. And so I'll just call my band leader and be like, hey. And she's like, oh, you're back in town? And she's like, yeah. She's like, and sometimes it gets weird because I'll be on stage like singing at somebody's wedding and they can't announce it as me. I'm just doing it because it's fun for me and I just like to do it. And so sometimes I'll be singing and some people from the audience are like,
I know him.
Wait a minute. You? And this one girl like went to her car and like got my album, was like, this is you, right? And I'm like, hi. And we're like, oh my, and they're freaking out. Then they go tell the bride and she's coming like, oh my God, I didn't know I had a famous singer at my wedding. And I'm just like, I'm just having fun tonight. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff that happens to me.
Oh,
and I think it's great, because I mean, it's my roots. It's where I came from. It's the place where I like built my chops and paid my bills. So I never shunned the industry, And I have lots of great friends and other artists that do it. And so, sometimes when I'm not busy touring, because I haven't made that kind of money yet where I'm like can like sit at home when I'm not working,
Right,
so
gotta find something. We need a gig.
Something has to happen, yeah. And if I can perfectly do it singing, yes. But I'm like, you can't announce it. I can't be in the band as me. So my old band used to, he'd be like, he was Puerto Rican, so he used to call me Jose.
Oh.
That was Jose Gonzalez, whatever. He would make up some shit, and I was like, what is wrong with you?
That's funny.
He would do it because I said you cannot say my name. Because if you say my name, you have to pay me extra.
Yeah.
I'm only here just to pay my bills. This is not, I have to separate my artists from that. So in the bands, I'm Jose. Fine.
Jose. Oh,
but,
Are
people
you Spanish at all? Do you have any Spanish in you? Or
No, it was just for him because he's ridiculous. I do speak a good bit of Spanish. I started studying Spanish with Rosetta Stone.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So talk to us about going on the Ellen show. Like, what was that about? Did you get to meet Ellen? And I mean, I didn't see the clip, so talk to us about it.
I did Ellen's show and I did Ellen's really big show.
Yeah. So what was that?
So with Ellen, it was weird. She loves music, clearly, she's always dancing.
Yes.
And someone had given her, or she found my first record. And so she was already a fan. I didn't know. And when I did her show, I didn't meet her. She just announced me and I just performed.
Okay.
When I did her really big show, I was at soundcheck. She came out and she was like, oh my God, Ryan. And I was like, hey, Ellen, how are you? She's like, I'm great. And she's like, are you wondering why you're here? And I was like, yeah, I don't even know how it happened. They just called and was like, you're going to do Ellen's really big show. And she's like, yeah, I wanted you here. I called for you. She was like, every day since your record came out, I've had it. And for the like, and since your record came out, every day before my show, while I'm in the back getting ready and warming up, I play your record. I play your album. And she was like, so thank you for being here. And I was like, oh my God, thank you for having me. And so, yeah, I'm trying to actually, I need to get her this new record. We're sending her a copy hopefully now, because, you know, we'll make the reconnection and maybe she can dance again to some Marvin. But yeah, she was already aware of me, which I thought was great. It's always great when people are aware of you before. And I didn't know Bunny Raitt was aware of me before. When I first was touring with her, I was backstage and I was like, oh, okay, hopefully I don't see her until like after the show. And then so I'm getting there for sound check and she's there and she is one of the greatest human beings ever. Yeah. Like one of the only artists I see, she's walking around and she's talking to the stage hand and she's like, Carl, how's your daughter? I'm like she's that kind. She's just like a genuine, loving, amazing soul. And so I'm coming, I turn the corner to go in my dressing room and she walks out of her dressing room. She's like, Ryan. I'm like, first of all, Bunny Raitt just said my name. I'm melting. I'm dead. And then she goes, oh my God, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. And I was like, thank you for having me. This is amazing. Thank you. And she was like, no, you with that voice? Oh, I'm excited to hear it. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. And then I just sort of went in my dressing room and just melted a little bit. But yeah, it was just, it's been great.
It's just cool that you're so humble about it too, and you've worked with so many great people, because there's really not a lot of people like that.
But what I realized is that most of the most talented artists that I've toured with, from the Joss Stone, and let's just go to Joss Stone. First of all, she is also another just genuine human being. There's a story that I always say I was going to tell when I get to Oprah, but I'm just going to start telling it now. Because I haven't seen Oprah yet. I'll see her soon maybe, but I haven't seen Oprah.
The white Oprah.
Exactly. The Latina Oprah.
Yeah,
I just kidding. No, but when I was touring with Joss Stone, she was also like, she said, right, I think you're just super duper great. And there was this at radio. My first time performing at Radio City was the Dream concert, and it was a fundraiser to finish the Martin Luther King Memorial in DC. And I was very honored to be on that because, first of all, I'm from Atlanta, which was where he was based after he was, where he moved to with his family. And so I was supposed to sing a song, and Joss was supposed to sing a song, and then me and Joss were supposed to do a duet. So many stars came out for this concert that they started running out of time, and so they had to cut a few numbers. And who were they going to cut? The new guy that nobody was knowing, that people didn't know at the time. So my song got cut, but I continued to do the duet with Joss. And then, so at soundcheck, I was just waiting. She was like, when are you gonna do your song? I was like, oh no, they cut my song because they were running out of time. And she was like, okay. And so she said, come with me. So we went to the musical director. She rearranged the whole song. We were doing, we sang, wow, what song did we do? It wasn't a change song. It wasn't a change song. I don't remember. But she rearranged. I can't remember what that song was, but she rearranged the whole song so that all of the good parts of the song I sang. Wow. And she took all of the lesser parts and she was like, they need to know who you are. They know who I am. People need to know who you are. So you take all. I was like, no, that's not. She's like, no, listen to me. You take all those parts. And then I felt bad after because when the reviews came out about the show the next day, some idiot, I don't say idiot because I actually don't remember the person whether they could be reviewing my album now. So we're not going to say idiot. But I was very, very sad because they didn't know either. But one of the articles came out, it might have been in the Post, and it said, Shaw outshined Stone. Ooh. And then I felt, I was like, but that's not what really happened. Yes, but it was strategic. It was, she orchestrated it that way. Yeah. And ever since I've been I'm like, I love her.
That's why she did that though. Like she wanted you to be in that position, and she already has the accolades and all of that too. So, but it just sucks that she had been put down for it when it should have just been that you were a shining star, not better than her.
Right. And that's exactly. So I was like, when I get to Oprah, I need to tell everybody. But I'm just gonna start telling it because she's that kind of person. So anytime someone says anything about Joss, I'm like, it better not be negative because she's an angel. Yes, So yeah, and all of the artists from Bunny Raitt to Joss Stone, John Legend, B.B. King, just all of these people, the greatest of the most talented people don't actually have these egos.
Yeah, I know.
From my experience, they don't carry it. And so what it taught me was that it doesn't matter. Like, and Rob Thomas, like, people, they don't have egos. They just do what they do, and they love what they do. And that's the draw. You know, for some people, the bitchiness and the diviness or the I'm better than is also a draw for some people, but it doesn't work for the humanity part of it. It just, you know, it doesn't make you anything better than what you are. It actually makes you a little worse.
People. Yeah.
It makes you a little worse. When you see somebody super talented and then they're super like humble about it and gracious and sharing with their gifts and experiences, then it just makes them better. But when you got people like, you know, I don't.
Yeah.
Why?
I know.
Why?
No, I've interviewed hundreds, thousands of people. Like, I mean, I've seen, but a lot of times it's the PR people or it's their handlers or the people who manage them that are like not easy. And you're like, oh man, this guy's gonna be a real jerk. And then all of a sudden you talk to them and they're like so nice, and you're like, oh my God, why couldn't I have talked to you this whole time?
Exactly.
Like, you know.
Well, you know, sometimes they have to have the gatekeepers. You know,
the gatekeepers.
You know,
they're always like.
But sometimes when we were trying to get this record done, there was like some situation that would come up, and my manager would be like, I was like, I don't know why it's happening. These people are like doing this, or this is happening. She's like, oh, they're playing good cop, bad cop.
Oh, that happens.
And so, yeah, that happens. So sometimes the artist doesn't things they don't want to do, and so they'll have the bad cop go out and take care of it, and so they can stay the good cop.
Yes.
I played both the good cop and the bad cop because I'm just a transparent person. Like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not a bitch about it, but it's just no. And I'm like, you know, there's reason to say, oh, I would love to, or this and that, and then your manager say, no, that's fake, and it's like, no, I don't really have time, or I'm not really interested, and that's the best way to do it. And these people know.
Appreciate that, yes, for sure.
Or it's not time. I've said, like, there's some things that I recorded back in the day, you know, just like to pay my bills, and you know, you sing a demo, and then they sort of own the demo, but it's never to be released with your voice on it.
Yes, okay.
You know, without permission.
Yeah.
It was just the demo, and they're supposed to find another home for the song. But then after my albums came out, now I'm like, I never approved this to be out. Why is this long? Why is this out? That kind of thing. So, but I've had people call me and ask for the permission like they were supposed to. Like, you know, what about this song? And I'm like, I don't think this is the time.
Yeah, right.
And you know, I don't think it's the time. And then will let me know when the time is. I will. And it wasn't because I didn't want my voice out, it was because of the subject of the song, and it was during like the Black Lives Matter movement. It was a song about finding peace, but at the time I was like, I don't think we're not ready for that. I don't want my voice out saying that, because right now I'm marching and I'm upset.
I see.
So it's not time for peace right now. It's time to tear this bitch up. Is what it's time to do. You know. And so I'm like, it's not time for peace right now. And so I was like, it's not the time. He's like, well, let me know when the time is. And I was like, I understand we all want to be happy and move forward, but unfortunately in a lot of situations things have to be torn down, and then we have to rebuild together. So when we're ready to rebuild, and we've had all the pertinent conversations, and now we're tearing down systems and reinventing ourselves as a nation, then we can release this song, because now we can heal. But if we start healing now, one of us is still going to be at a disadvantage, because now we're saying we're going to move on and forget about it. We've all said it, but nothing has changed.
Yes,
so
you're right.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So I was
that's good, but that's good that you have to be able to kind of have that autonomy. It's your song, you know, it's your voice, and so you have to be able to do that. And you're right, timing is everything. You don't want to be associated with something and that's contradictory to whatever you're doing at that moment. So it makes sense for sure. Is there anybody else? Is there anyone else that you would love to collaborate with moving forward?
Oh, yes. One is pretty controversial, and not sure if it'll ever happen, but his musicality, you know, sometimes I don't go by I don't get into people's legal things and all those things, but R. Kelly.
Really?
His musicality.
Ryan, that's some stuff right there.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. He's so much controversy, but as an artist, from artist to artist, not human being to human being, but as an artist to artist, I would definitely say R. Kelly.
Wow.
And I would love to collaborate with Missy Elliott.
Oh my God, I love Missy Elliott. I was just telling my friend, because let me just tell you something. I cannot sing at all, but I can lip sync, and like I love like my like rap and lip sync and different. And Missy Elliott, I'm just like jamming. She is just the best. I love her.
She is one of the most creative, musically talented. She's so great at pulling from old school, mixing it with new school. and creating stuff that just no one's ever heard of or thought about.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like just us in a room together would just do some crazy, ridiculous things.
Yes, you would. Oh my God, she's the best. So is there any advice that you'd like to give to someone that's kind of following in your footsteps, that's in the industry, especially now with everything going on? Any type of advice you want to give somebody?
I would just say to people starting out, always, you'll save yourself a lot of frustration and days of annoyance and depression if you just understand that where you are is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as we think we should be somewhere else, you set yourself up for disappointment. You set yourself up for things because you're not. And so if you're always trying to be somewhere else, you don't even take advantage of the things that are here or learn from the reasons why you feel stuck in a certain place. Because really the truth about it all is nothing will happen before it's time. Yeah. And so if your faith and your passion is in your talent and what you do, then let that be your motivation for getting up every day. Let that be the thing that brings you joy. Let that be the thing that you experience. And that way your journey is actually fulfilling.
Yeah.
If you're walking your journey in desperation of, I just want to be seen, I just want to be this, I just want to be that, or I shouldn't be here, I'm better than this and I'm better than that. I'm not better than anything. I will go tomorrow and sing at a wedding as a regular singer, not headline, and just get my little check for my few $100 or whatever, and come home and pay my bills and do it. You know what I mean? Because why not? I can't ever. I came from that. It supported me for many, many years. I can never get to a point where I'm better than where I came from.
Right.
So that's my advice to those. To artists that are where I am, or a little bit before where I am, and that's trying to break through, I give you the advice that, because there are a lot of you people, managers and people around you that would see things and interpret it their way and tell you, or shift you and tell you, this is what you should do, this is what we should do. If you don't have a vision for it, then that's fine. If you know who you are, I'll give you the advice that Valerie Simpson gave me. At some point, the captain has to drive his own ship. And so if you have a vision for yourself and you know who you are as an artist, do that. Fight for that. If it makes you unpopular, if it doesn't get you signed, if it delays your signing for another few years, or whatever the case may be, drive your own ship. Go with your gut, which I didn't do in the beginning. And then after I spoke to Valerie years later, I was like, I wish we were close enough that you had said this to me 10 years ago when I first signed to Columbia, and other things like that. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, you probably weren't ready to hear it at that time anyway. It all advice comes at the right time.
Yeah.
The way it is.
Yeah,
I love
definitely.
it. Brian, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
your time.
you.
And we're looking forward to checking out your new album.
And it's everywhere. If you need a physical, go to Broadway, BroadwayRecords.com. And if you stream or download, it's wherever you do your music, whether it's Deezer. And also, it's pretty cool things you can ask all of those people. I'll be silly. I was like, like Alexa, Google, all them bitches. I'd be like, ask all of them to play Ryan Shaw. I
love it. That's great. I never even thought of that. Every time I ask people, where can we find your album? They always say on all the regular outlets. You're the first one that's like, tell Alexa, play Ryan Shaw.
Exactly. Just ask all of them. Ask all them girls to play.
All them bitches.
Exactly. Ask all them bitches to play. It's fine.